The spread of humanity. A strange thing happened when the number of people on earth increased. The sons of God, who are often understood as angels or divine entities, choose human women as their wife after noticing their beauty. The remarkable creatures known as the Nephilim, who became legendary characters famed for their strength and prowess, were born as a result of this mating. God, meanwhile, saw the moral decline and growing depravity in humankind. The introspection and choice of God. God said that his spirit would not fight humans forever after seeing how morally depraved they had become. Realizing that people only had 120 years left on their lives, God was appalled by the sad state of his creation. The Nephilim's ascent. During this time, the Nephilim, who were the offspring of God's sons and human daughters, rose to fame and were dubbed the Ancient Heroes. Their actions and influence were well known, which added to society's overall corruption. Noah's favor and divine remorse. The story then turns to God's emotional reaction to the widespread immorality. God was deeply sorry for creating humanity and regretted it. But Noah stood out as a lighthouse of righteousness in the midst of this hopelessness. God looked favorably upon Noah, who stood out among his contemporaries as a man of virtue and blamelessness. The flood and God's plan. God chose to send a catastrophic flood to purify the planet because he was determined to deal with the corruption that existed on earth. He told Noah about his plan and gave him the task of building an ark to save himself, his family, and representatives of all the land-dwelling animals. Building the Ark in Chapter 6. Despite the overwhelming magnitude of the undertaking, Noah started building the Ark. Using gopher wood, Solomon constructed the enormous vessel according to God's exact specifications. It was 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. Pitch was carefully coated by Noah to guarantee the ark's waterproof construction. Getting the animals together. God gave Noah instructions to gather 7 pairs of clean birds and pairs of every animal, both clean and unclean, as the construction was almost finished. These creatures represented God's desire to preserve the variety of life on earth and were to join Noah, his family, and the pairs of unclean animals in the ark. Noah and God's covenant God confirmed his covenant with Noah when the ark was being prepared and the animals were inside. Along with providing for Noah and his family during the approaching flood, the covenant also guaranteed the creation of a divine covenant that would last beyond the apocalyptic disaster. The flood's beginning. God gave Noah instructions to board the ark with his family and the animals at the appropriate time. The floodwaters started their unrelenting ascent from the heavens 7 days later. For 40 days and nights, the rain didn't stop, soaking the entire planet and even sinking the tallest mountains. The ark stays afloat. Noah and his family braved the rising waters of the flood inside the ark. With the help of divine direction, the ark's design and construction allowed it to float on the water's surface and offer its inhabitants safety. The flood's maximum level. The rain continued for 40 days, and the strength of the flooding rose. Now raised much above the surface of the planet, the ark stood alone in the immense body of water. All terrestrial life was destroyed by the flood, including all animal and human life. How long did the flood last? The unrelenting floods continued for a period of 150 days. The ark was turned into a makeshift haven in a world swallowed by water, and the once thriving landscapes were now underwater. The remembering of God. God remembers Noah and the ark's occupants in the midst of the flooding. By interfering, he created a breeze that passed over the planet and helped the floodwaters gradually recede. A new phase began with the closing of the floodgates of the skies and the springs of the deep. The arrival of the Ark. After several months, the Ark finally came to rest on the Ararat Mountains on the 17th day of the 7th month. The summits of the mountains slowly showed signs of a changed world as the floods continued to recede. Birds in flight. Eager to see how the planet was doing, Noah set free a number of birds. The first bird to be sent was a raven, which flew back and forth without landing. A dove was subsequently released on several occasions. The dove returned the first time it looked for a perch, but this time it returned with an olive leaf, indicating the presence of dry land. Leaving the ark, Noah waited, watching the waters recede and looking for signs of life returning. At last, the earth's surface was dry on the first day of the first month of his 601st year. With thanksgiving and eagerness, Noah took off the ark's covering. The renewal of the covenant and God's blessing. God told Noah to exit the ark with his family and the animals because of his devotion. Now that he was on dry land, Noah erected an altar and presented gifts to God. God bestowed a new blessing on Noah and his offspring in response to the fragrant sacrifices. God reaffirmed his covenant during this heavenly communion, vowing never to punish the earth or wipe out all life with a flood. The rainbow, God's sign of covenant God, made a rainbow in the skies to serve as an enduring and visible symbol of this covenant. The colorful spectrum reminded God and people alike that God had acted with mercy and restraint in spite of people's innate propensity toward evil. Instructions and blessings for humanity. God gave Noah and his sons a blessing and gave them the command to multiply, bear fruit, and populate the planet. As all animals, birds, and marine life were handed over to humanity, human fear and dread were to descend upon them. All living things are permitted to be eaten by people by God. However, meat that still contains living blood is off-limits. Murder is prohibited. God forbade the spilling of human blood when he gave humans dominion over the planet and its inhabitants. God set a rule of justice. Whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood be shed. Murderers would be held accountable. The covenant of God. As promised, God reiterated his covenant, promising never to use a flood to wipe out all life on earth. The rainbow that emerged from the clouds was meant to be a constant reminder of this agreement between God and all living things. Noah's sons. The focus of the story then turns to Noah's offspring, namely his three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The ancestors of the various countries that will inhabit the planet were these three sons. The later years of Noah. A man of the soil, Noah cultivated a vineyard following the deluge. But in that vulnerable time, he drank too much of its wine and got wasted. One of Noah's sons, Ham, saw that his father was nude and told his brothers about it. Fortune and misfortune. When Noah awoke and realized what Ham had done, he cursed Ham's son, Canaan. He blessed Shem and Japheth at the same time, asking God to increase Japheth's domain and to honor Shem as the God of Shem. The life and death of Noah lived an extra 350 years after the flood, for a total lifespan of 950 years. When Noah finally passed away, an age that had seen the incredible events of the deluge and the earth's subsequent rebirth came to an end. This expanded version explores all the important components of the Noah and the Ark story, emphasizing the divine qualities of judgment, mercy, covenant, and renewal, while exploring the story's many dimensions.